So there's a cost to listening to yourself that no one really talks about. Initially, you'd think that it feels freeing, but it actually ends up being more disruptive to your life than anything else. And I want to talk about what's actually on the other side of when you stop overriding your truth and your knowing. The thing is, I'm pretty sure we all resonate on some level that there is a dream, a narrative, something within you that, in spite of the experiences that you're having outside of yourself, it's telling you that there is something that we need to do first. Before you commit to that relationship, that the job that you're in is a means to an end to get you to this other place that you already harbour, but you don't truly acknowledge, because you know that if you listen to it, everything would have to change. And what's crazy is I wish that I knew back when I was going through it in an array of different ways, which I'll gladly list without it getting too trauma dumpy. But it's disavowal. Disavowal is to know a truth, but not follow it all the way to the end of it, because you know that at the end of the line, everything would need to change. And that's one of the massive ways, it's the perfect language to identify the feeling that we're going through in terms of not choosing ourselves. It's not that you're actually ignorant to yourself, it's that you know yourself and you don't like it. And it's crazy because like the world don't prepare you to like what to do if you go inside and you find yourself and you don't like the answer. So then it's so easy, well, it's the hardest kind of easy, to then live a life that isn't you. You go down every road but the one that has your name on it. And something that settles me and hopefully settles you, because it lets you know that like there is no true wrong answer, which is, it's like the roads that we take to avoid our fate is the very road that leads us to it. So it's like the whole, like, the missteps are a part of the dance. There's all of these all of these little sayings that can, like, there's not a grain of sand out of place. I could be spinning these off all day, right? And the thing is, fundamentally, these sayings are meant to bring about some type of peace within you, but not peace to bypass the truth. So you'll find that when I say things like that, have a look and see what it flares up within you. Because if you realize that you're like, oh no, but like I feel like there's something wrong. So me using all of this language to try and kind of justify your truth away is the very essence of your shadows and why the experiences going on around you, like we get triggered and like this thing bothers you, and we go in and we go back to the version of ourselves that we dishonored, that then comes to the surface and tries to basically uphold your truth, because we spend all of our bandwidth and energy trying to justify that truth away, put it somewhere else, say I'll get to that, or like, yeah, you know, that I'm deserving of that, even though my actions right now aren't aligning with a version of me that has that. And we're betraying ourselves now, but placing our being or our psyche somewhere else. And then that's what puts us as never being here, because then we're future or past hopping, because what's actually here is unbearable to carry, because we resist this so heavily. And like a perfect example of this is, I've got a few, is school. I was kicked out of loads of schools and I really misunderstood, you know, like very like ADHD, the classic like kid that just can't sit still. And naughtiness only happened like on the other side of like, you know, bullying and injustice and people misunderstanding me, and, you know, eventually like that turning bitter. But fundamentally, that actually only got addressed at the root when, in like my most recent job, or like one of my most recent jobs, where I had a manager who was very like, very of the mind, very domineering, very intellectual. And I'd only just arrived to my heart. So it meant that my heart was open enough to get to the childlike phase, but I hadn't addressed my limits around authority and around like, yeah, people making me feel small with their minds and their limits and their perception. And then the whole point being that through that, it basically gave me the perfect training ground to listen to myself. And myself was saying, like, I am a genius. I have my own knowing, my own perspective, my own awareness. And it's like through that, I was then able to then not demean him and not see him as like having to put him down in order to build myself up. And it's like this beautiful acknowledgement that, yes, I was being reactive. And like, yes, I was feeling small, but I could use narrations like, he is making me feel that way. And on some level, he is the mirror. He is the person that I'm interacting with, that I am then allowing myself to feel a certain way because it's actually stemming from a wound that I never let the light in and never truly healed. And through listening to myself and meeting him with love and having a difficult conversation and saying, I am a full-time creative. I believe in my poetry. I believe in my writing, and I believe that people is much deeper than their physiology and the external structures that hold them. That there is another epicenter of information and another world on the other side of the veil that we interact with. And my mission and my truth is to continue to embody that and meet people that are on the precipice or deep within that understanding. And you know, and through that, yes, there's a wave of good stuff that happened, but that's not what this post is about. This post is about that I felt so uncomfortable. The weight, like that, that feeling in your stomach, in your chest that tightens, and it goes. It's way easier for me to just continue being what I've done, and I'll just continue to stay small. And then you start feeling yourself not only calcify, but you get super resentful. And it's tough to accept that, like, you're the person accumulating the ingredients and chefing them up in the kitchen. And it's just like, well, why did you give me the salt then? So it's another thing is, whilst I'm speaking to him and actually having that kind of finale conversation, and I know a lot of us do this, is I told him 70% of the truth, or 80% of my truth. And it felt comforting enough to make that feeling in my stomach and heart settle. But then I'd had enough experiences in the past, based off of slightly different facets, that taught me that 80% isn't gonna be enough. Like when I leave this conversation, there's still hope. There's still, the entire reality doesn't dissolve because you've not actually fully committed to the truth. You've still tiptoed around it, walked around the circle of it. And it was like, I like you to say, and even though it's a bit brutal, but it's like you've got to gut it. You've got to completely cut it open and let all of that truth spill out. And because fundamentally, it's that our reality is built up on something that was false, something that was true to us on one level, but the truth was that we were avoiding our truth. So it's actually based off of avoidance. It's based off of compromise. It's based off of neglect. It's based off of something outdated. So that's why it's like looking at the parts of our psyche that is clinging to not choosing ourselves. And the cost of that is dear. It's violence. not only on yourself, but on the people around you that are trying to love you, on your potential and the people that and the places and the experiences that you're made to be a part of. It's like all of the rooms that are meant for you and all the people that are meant for you are waiting. They're waiting for you to arrive to you, and that's why we feel all of these synchronicities when we do align. And you're like, whoa, there's all of these numbers, and oh my God, I've never met people like this, and oh, like the money's just coming in, and all of this stuff's happening. And like, it's not a coincidence. It's that you've stepped into yourself, so you finally receive or are open enough to receive all that is for you. And another thing in terms of the cost is I left a relationship that was pretty good. Like it was the type of relationship and with the type of person that most people would settle with. And like you marry that person and like you end up dealing with some element of struggle, but that's a part of it, right? But the struggle, I think, gets misinterpreted because it's all that we know. So like if we have that internal struggle and that doesn't involve vulnerability, you don't actually bring that to your partner and you think it's something that you're just meant to hold, and they feel that way as well, then you struggle in your separateness. And your relationship becomes a manifestation of your avoidance of yourself. And that's like one level of consciousness or remembrance, where most people stop there and go, well, I've got a lot of this safety, a lot of this certainty. And that's where it's like the classic, like you pick a known hell over an unknown heaven. And I'm not saying that being with your partner where it's pretty good is a hell. It's a very exaggerated analogy. But it's basically that like it's suffering or pain that you know well to the point that you're not prepared to step into an unknown of vulnerability that might actually bring you to yourself. Because it means that it's the parts of you that you've held on to will need to burn away. And then it means you've got to grieve. You end up grieving this identity, this way of living that you thought was right and you thought was the best, and you were wrong. There was a deeper truth, a deeper love. And that's why it's such a tender balance, right? Because it's like the cost of revealing yourself and putting yourself down flat on the table is that other people might not pick it up. And it's not about being right, because the whole point is then like you can end up falling back into resentment even within the action of your truth, which is then you put yourself down and you go, and they don't pick you up, and you go, see, I knew it. This whole time I knew that if I told them that thing, they would leave, or it would be over, or I'd stop getting treated a certain way. And it's like, that's the mind trying to protect the heart from the ache of the fact that this could have been avoided. Like, and instead you chose to bear the weight of that avoidance and the truth by, instead of like letting it be this collaboration, instead you went, in this partnership I'm going to be on my own because I know it won't work. And it's like then looking at, why did we choose that prison in the first place? Why did that seem like the better deal than being on our own? And then of course whatever arises within you is the answer. I can imagine a heap of stuff can come up on why we would choose that. And what I'd invite you to is, with whatever comes up, the first few words is usually the truth. And then you put a full stop there, and it can lead to you feeling quite emotive. But it's everything that we say after the fact is the mind. Is you like trying to like make that feel more comfortable. Because at the end of the day, especially when it comes to us picking safety or picking fears or compromising, it's a form of sensation management, where we use the mind to try and digest what the heart, what we wouldn't allow the heart to hold, because it would feel so unbearable, so painful, so much sensation would arise. And the cost of choosing myself meant that, or listening to myself, because the whole time it was basically my mind going, but you need to travel, but there's other women out there you need to experience, that's what you are owed as a man. And thinking that it's like, if I tell her that truth, I'm a monster. I'm not even prepared to accept that within me. And that's it, it's inside out work. It's that, like, I tell myself that I'm safe even whilst I'm in danger. And that's what helps you build up the courage to be able to, like, dive into love, into the unknown, whilst knowing that you can hold you in whatever happens. And then it means that then that action transcends outcome. You're no longer putting yourself down to be received or be loved. It's that you're going, this is my truth, this is what's happening, and I'm going to embody that. And what will be from that, even if it's messy, at least it's my mess. And yeah, the cost of choosing yourself, like, I've lost friendships, people that I've known for years. And the word trying is an interesting one. Because are you trying to change them? Are you trying to maintain the relationship in the way that you have understood it? Like, are you trying to resist change? And that's why the word being is so imperative, because in being, I knew that those relationships would end. But my heart longed and hoped. It's funny, no, because it's the other way around. It's the other way around. With, like, one of my most recent relationships that ended in this sort of 15 years, it was the last person that's actually known me since secondary school. And I sent a message asking about, like, conspiracy theory stuff, right? And it was coded with stuff written between the lines. Like, I was like, oh, what do you think about, like, the television's been programming you and telling you stuff? Like, to me, that's like dipping your toe in conspiracies. Like, it can get way crazier than that. And I randomly just, like, felt this feeling, saw a post, I'm like, I'm gonna send it to him. And I was like, I'm really curious to know what you feel and think about this. And my heart knew he's not gonna get it. Because there'd already been enough instances where my soul, my being felt overlooked and justified away. And my mind was actually the thing longing and going, like, maybe he can be something other than what he is. And yeah, I got a message back from him going, I think that this is a whole bunch of tinfoil hat nonsense. And for me, it wasn't actually about the television. And it rarely is. This is yet again the mental gymnastics, all the stuff that we do to try and bridge a deeper connection, a deeper understanding. And that's why it's so important, the work that I do, because it's about providing language that allows someone to see themselves in a way that previously they were blinded to with the noise and the narration that they were equipped with. And what I was actually saying within that interaction was, what is your inward inquiry like? How much are you prepared to question yourself even when truth seems certain? And that is the type of thing where this is the big difference between being stagnant in motion, where we're living our lives, but our internal process is just one of regurgitating thoughts and accumulated experiences from the past and projecting ourselves into ideas, not truth. And it's through inward inquiry that we can arrive to vulnerability and we can bridge that distance between us, which I could already feel. So it was kind of a bid for connection, right? And it was like seeing, can I meet myself just as deeply within this relationship? Or has this become a dirty mirror where it's all just based off of projection and assumption? And through his response, it revealed that it was like, oh, you've finished exploring yourself. That now life is just happening to you rather than you being a clear participant of it. And that's not how I navigate my life. Or at least I'd come to realize that that's how, yeah, it's beyond a choice at this point. Like, you just get so lost in the flow of yourself and just allowing yourself to be yourself that things that we then attach to, and we're like, but I've known you for this long and we've shared these memories, and I know myself to look this way in relation to you. It's a grieving process. Like, because on some level it was a truth to you, but that doesn't mean that truth can't necessarily evolve. And that's it, we cling to these truths, and through that clinging, we end up denying ourselves of ourselves, and that is the ultimate cost. To get to the end of life, or wake up each day and realize that basically you are a stranger to yourself, and that the only person that you needed to know, the only job was to breathe a breath for you, rather than everyone else, to be yourself for you before you needed to be anything for anyone else. So the cost is less about like, oh, these day to day, week to week, these relationships and these sensations. The cost is actually existential, at least in my mind.
I'm coming.
Because it's like, once you embrace yourself, you'll realize that no cost is too high. That it completely pivots from you going like, I feel like I'm dying on the inside, but I'm alive, or like that I'm living, to now it's, I will die into anything in order to live. And that, you can only arrive to that place, or I've only arrived to that place because then I will feel the pain, because everything around me is valuable. It's just not mine. And it's that most of us spin the narrative of like having to say that this thing is less important or more important, or that like, oh, because they've behaved this way, that's why I'm acting this way. That we overly justify. And it's like, you don't need to justify. You need to just be what you are and feel everything that comes with that. So then at least your bliss is your bliss, and your sorrow is your sorrow. And as long as we're not trying to avoid any of those sensations or favor and cling to one of those sensations, that's where we can hold the still point, which is ourselves, aligning our truth. Yeah, team. I can feel it's time to wrap up this post. But the cost is something that you're already bearing now. Just right now is through the looking glass of abandonment. When the bearing of reality, of life, of yourself, can be one that you're feeling the strength of you. It's like the classic choose your heart. But we can only do that once you remember that your life and how you're living it is a choice. I love you.